Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Whether or Not. I'm your host, Mike Susko.
And I'm your forecaster, Jenna.
Jordyn, this past week we saw temperatures a little bit on the cool side, at least to start the week. Then it moderated a bit, but I hear we may have some wintry weather coming our way.
We do have a little bit of a mix of rain for this weekend and wintry weather. We could see some wintry mix as well, but there's still some sunshine in the forecast as well.
All right, well, hopefully there's more sunshine than there is rain and all that wintry stuff that just makes a mess of everything. Coming up next, we have nature and the news stories on Thanksgiving and the holidays. There are several different traditions people partake in on Thanksgiving Day. Whether it's eating a turkey dinner with family, watching the football game with friends, or just taking an extra day to relax and enjoy those around you. One very popular tradition for most of America is waking up and turning on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade to kick off Thanksgiving festivities. What most people do not know, though, is how much weather impacts the parade itself. The famous balloons are a crowd favorite for many during the parade, and wind is the biggest concern for balloon handlers as they walk along the parade route. The balloons can only be properly operated in winds blowing below 23 miles per hour. Not only can the winds cause damage to the balloons, but it can cause harm to the handlers controlling the balloons throughout the parade. Rain is another factor that affects the parade, but minor adjustments can be made to perform the parade successfully. For example, the performers wear protective rainproof layers, and the balloons are covered with a tarp to maintain their proper shape. Rain becomes a serious threat, though, for the parade when storms are associated with them. Let's not forget about snow. Even though it's uncommon during the parade, it is possible during some events. Usually the parade continues during snowfall circumstances, though. The props for the parade are weatherproof, but the main concern are the people operating them who are not as adaptable to harmful weather conditions.
Let's travel back in time into 1621 to the very first Thanksgiving in Plymouth Colony, where surprisingly enough, weather was a more important aspect of the holiday than the day itself. The actual first Thanksgiving feast took place in either September or October, and it was a harvest festival that usually lasted several days. During that time, celebrating a harvest festival was an English tradition. Weather was a common conversation topic among the new colonists adjusting to the harsh local climate. The previous year drastically impacted the Pilgrims when they first arrived to the colony on the first day of winter. Nearly half of the colonists died during the harsh winter. Not only was the winter hard for the Pilgrims, but spring was also rough. Luckily, there was a bountiful fall harvest soon after, where our first Thanksgiving all began. All recording writings of the day itself did not talk much about the weather, which most likely meant it was just another normal sunny day with temperatures in the 60s in Plymouth Colony.
Earlier this week, the Atlantic Basin got its 19th named storm of the season, Tropical Storm Sebastian. The storm formed over 200 miles northeast of the Leeward Islands and is forecasted to remain over open water, only affecting the marine life in the deep ocean. While Sebastian is not expected to impact land, it serves as a reminder that we are still in hurricane season. The Atlantic hurricane season officially runs from June 1st to November 30th. But that does not mean it is impossible to get a storm outside this time frame. In fact, we have seen at least one named tropical storm or hurricane outside of the hurricane season since 2015. In 2016, we had two named storms, Hurricane Alex, which if you remember formed back in January of that year, and Tropical Storm Bonnie formed just 4 days ahead of the hurricane season in late May. The good news is that there are no signs of any impending storms lurking out there over the next few weeks.
Thanksgiving is less than 1 week away, and I know we are all ready to eat the delicious meal and give thanks for those who have prepared it for us. In honor of this upcoming week's Thanksgiving feast, I have a few climate facts I would like to share with you. First, let's hone in on the turkey, the most important dish of a traditional Thanksgiving dinner. One thing to remember while eating your turkey is that it leaves a carbon footprint. Unfortunately, it's not the only culprit. Meat and food production are carbon-intense activities. Next, let's move right on to dessert because that's what we want to eat first anyways. Fact number 2, in 2017, Hurricane Irma caused a pecan shortage. It's a good thing we have pumpkin pie to cover that up. Well, since we ate dessert, let's move right on into a white Thanksgiving. Well, that didn't sound right, but just know a white Thanksgiving is possible in many parts of North America. Shown in this map, areas in blue and white are where it's possible to see snowfall for your Thanksgiving. Any last thoughts to share with some climate skeptic family members? Well, not everyone is always going to believe the scientists in the room. And that leads me to Merry Thanksgiving.
Last Monday, America's most northern town, Barrow, Alaska, saw its last glimpse of sunlight for the year. Every year around mid-November, the sun sets in Barrow and around the Arctic Circle and does not rise again until mid-January, about 65 days of darkness. This is because of the tilt of the Earth's axis. Thanks to this tilt, we get to experience the seasons on Earth. Right now, the northern hemisphere is leaning the farthest from the sun, which is why sunlight is decreasing a little bit each day. This will continue for about another month until the winter solstice on December 21st. After the solstice, the amount of daylight will start to increase once again, all the way until June.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jordyn Jenna here with your Central Pennsylvania forecast. And we're going to have a little bit of a mix-up in the weather for this weekend. Let's start it off on Friday. We're going to have some rain showers outside throughout the afternoon. It's not a complete washout associated with this cold front passing through Pennsylvania. We will have the sunshine peeking through again on Saturday as well. There'll be some partly cloudy skies outside. We'll have some rain in the mix as well throughout the afternoon, possibly. And then we get to our Sunday. We have another low pressure system moving throughout the area. Fortunately, more sunshine for our Sunday. For Friday, we're going to have a high of 50 degrees. There'll be some scattered showers outside. And then overnight, we'll drop down to 31. It'll be mostly cloudy. And for your Saturday, we're going to jump back up to 42 degrees. There'll be some morning showers, maybe a pop-up shower in the afternoon, but most of the day we'll have a lot of sunshine. For your Sunday, that's when we have this beautiful, gorgeous weather, but there may be some morning wintry mix outside as you're stepping outside your Sunday morning. Up next, Hannah has a feature for us.
Global warming is not uniform. The U.S. has warmed about 1.3 degrees Fahrenheit over the past 100 years, but not everywhere. Some places are warming a lot more than others, but what we do know is that global warming began to accelerate starting in the 1970s. In the 1970s, global warming began to accelerate much faster than it was already warming. This is when the greenhouse gases began to outweigh the other natural and human influences on the climate. On average, warming rate has tripled from 0.127 degrees Fahrenheit to 0.437 degrees Fahrenheit in the 1970s.
Yeah, well, there's been a long-term warming over the past century, but in the 1970s what happened was we passed the Clean Air Act. We required coal-fired power plants to scrub the sulfur emissions that were producing what are known as aerosols that led to acid rain, but that was also reflecting some sunlight back to space, and so it was offsetting some of the warming from fossil fuel burning, from the increase in greenhouse gas concentrations. So in the 1970s, what happened is we required factories to scrub those emissions to prevent that sulfur pollution from making it to the atmosphere. And so we removed that mask that had hidden some of the warming, and large-scale warming of the planet accelerated and continues unabated today.
Since 1970, the fastest warming state is Arizona, warming about 0.639 degrees Fahrenheit per decade. The number may seem small, but it is actually very high because the Earth warms slowly. We may not notice a difference in a year, but in a decade, we will certainly be able to see a difference.
So 0.6 degrees Fahrenheit per decade is a 6-degree warming over a century. So that's a profound warming for that region. Most of the world isn't warming quite that fast, but that's more than the temperature change between now and the last ice age. So it's a huge amount of warming, and we know from studying the impacts of even the modest warming we've seen so far, only about 1 degree Celsius of the planet so far, but we'll see as much as 4 to 5 degrees Celsius, 7 to 9 Fahrenheit by the end of the century if we continue with business as usual burning of fossil fuels.
The fastest warming states are not particularly in one spot. There are states warming fast in the southwest and states warming fast in the northeast. This is mainly due to the different wind and ocean patterns in these particular regions.
Global warming isn't uniform because although increased greenhouse gases are warming up the planet in general, we are also changing ocean currents and we're changing atmospheric wind patterns, changing the characteristics of the jet stream. And because of that, if you change sort of the pattern of the jet stream, you change those north-south meanders, those wiggles in the jet stream, then on top of the overall warming of the planet, some places are going to get less warming because they've got more cold air coming south. Other areas are going to get more warming because they've got warm air going north. And so much of what you see there with these regional variations, more warming in the desert Southwest, more warming in New England, has to do with how climate change is impacting atmospheric wind patterns and ocean currents. And that leads to some areas warming even faster.
The temperature change may not seem significant as of right now, but by later years, that number will seem very large. This temperature change puts us at risk for more severe weather, such as storms, heat waves, floods, and droughts, higher death rates, dirtier air, higher wildlife extinction rates, and many other problems. My question is, what can you do to prevent the rise in temperatures? From Penn State's Weather or Not, I'm Hannah Evans.
And now back for your extended forecast. So this weekend is going to be a little bit of mixed weather. Friday, we're going to see some rain, a high of 50 degrees and a low of 31. Saturday, that's when we have some midday showers, maybe a pop-up shower in the morning as well. But remember that sunshine is going to stick around throughout your Saturday and your Sunday. The only thing to worry about on Sunday is there can be some wintry mix in the morning. Other than that, it's going to be partly cloudy outside with a high of 39. And well, for next week, we start off with some sunshine in the area, and our temperature actually even jumps up above average for this time of year for your Tuesday. But by the end of the week, we're seeing a mixed bag of weather again. We could have some snow and some rain, maybe another wintry Thanksgiving upon us.
Unfortunately, it does look like Thanksgiving is going to be unsettled next week, so not really looking forward to that. But we do get a week off for school, so that's something to be exciting. And Thanksgiving every year. But what was the first year that it occurred in the United States? We asked you that in our Weather Whiz Quiz question. Was it A, 1621, B, 1676, C, 1776, or D, 1800? And if you said A, 1621, you are correct. And actually, Jordyn, the national holiday did not really become one, at least officially, until Abraham Lincoln back in 1863.
Oh, wow.
So we've been about 150 years or so that it's actually been a national holiday, but the first one was back in the 17th century. So this tradition has been going on for almost 400 years.
That is literally crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah, that is crazy. And how long that actually how long this tradition has carried on for.
Yeah, and actually, when it first, like in 1621, when it first started, it was a couple days. So imagine having turkey dinner for a couple days.
You won't hear me complain. I love turkey dinner, stuffing, corn muffins, all that. Especially the pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
All right, and Thanksgiving break. We have any plans?
I'm just going home to see both sides of my mom's family and dad's family. So I'm really excited for that because we don't see them while we're in school.
Same. I'm excited to see my family, but also my dog. Love my dog. So I have to see her, see how she's doing, and see if she's still driving my parents insane. So we'll have to see how that goes. And that's all the time we have for this week's episode. I'm Mike Susko.
I'm Jenna.
Have a great night, everybody.